The president of France called on allies to make strategic decisions to defend Europe. He also proposed introducing joint European funding to increase arms purchases and production. Emmanuel Macron is convinced that it will be difficult for Europe to have a unified army. However, he believes it is possible to create shared defense capabilities. Otherwise, he argues, Europe will not be able to become more autonomous.
As Europeans, we must increase our military efforts. We, the French, have a strong army, the most effective in Europe. We will need to strengthen our defense and our security. In the coming weeks, I want to organize a large-scale European funding initiative to increase defense procurement and production.
France must also increase its defense budget share, President Macron is convinced. During a meeting with parliamentary factions and groups, he suggested that the National Assembly, the country's parliament, consider increasing defense spending to 5% of gross domestic product. He reminded them that in the 60s, 70s and 80s, during the Cold War, France had similar levels of defense spending. However, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, investments were reduced. Today, France spends about 2% of its gross domestic product on defense.
The time is coming when we will have to invest even more, both in France and across Europe, to strengthen our defense and security. I'm not sure if 5% is the right figure for France, but in any case, we will have to raise these expenses. I do not rule out launching a savings mechanism. We are entering an era where each of us should ask ourselves, what can we do for the French nation and the Republic? In this sense, such a savings mechanism would be a very good idea.
In recent days, Emmanuel Macron has had numerous conversations with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The two leaders have coordinated their diplomatic efforts for the immediate future.
During the conversation, the presidents of Ukraine and France shared details of their contacts with other world leaders and coordinated positions, joint plans, and next steps. Volodymyr Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron also discussed in detail the views on security guarantees. From a publication on the website of the Office of the President of Ukraine,
in particular, the leaders discussed preparations for Emmanuel Macron's visit to Washington. According to the French president, he intends to meet with Donald Trump and urge him to be weak in the face of Putin, as this is not in Washington's interest. How can you be authoritative in the face of China then? Macron asked.
He, Macron, will come to the United States to speak for the Europeans and to say that Ukraine's future cannot be decided without them. Benjamin Haddad, the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, from a publication in Le Figaro.
The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, is also preparing to visit Washington. Information about the upcoming visits of Macron and Starmer was confirmed by the White House. They stated that the leaders of France and the UK would visit the United States separately, and the dates for their visits have been set.
And next Monday, the President will host France's President Emmanuel Macron. And on Thursday, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit the White House as well.
According to The Telegraph, the Prime Minister of the UK will urge Donald Trump to keep American fighter jets and missiles ready in Europe in case Russia violates the terms of any potential ceasefire. Additionally, Starmer is expected to bring the United States a strategy for deploying European troops in Ukraine.
Sir Keir Starmer will present Donald Trump with a plan to send fewer than 30,000 European troops to Ukraine in an attempt to secure American protection for the deployment. The Prime Minister is expected to detail how European forces could police any ceasefire deal brokered by the U.S. President when the pair meet in Washington next week, from a publication in The Telegraph.
The question of a peacekeeping mission in Ukraine is also being considered in Paris. According to Emmanuel Macron, France would likely be willing to send troops to guarantee peace only if it's achieved through negotiations. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavets, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.
5 EU nations, Germany, France, Italy, Spain and Poland, have endorsed a proposal for joint European defense bonds. This decision comes amid Vladimir Putin's approval of an updated nuclear doctrine. The Polish foreign minister highlighted that Putin's Russia poses one of the greatest threats to global security and the European security framework. He stressed that Russia's objective remains the systematic dismantling of Europe's security architecture. During the meeting, EU foreign ministers also discussed increasing European military support for Ukraine.
We have agreed that Europe must take greater responsibility for its own security, and that includes a more balanced sharing of the burden among NATO members.
On November 13th, a US missile defense base was inaugurated in northern Poland. Under construction since the early 2000s, the base is capable of detecting, tracking and intercepting ballistic missiles at the early stages of their flight, covering a range of 1,000 to 5,500 kilometers. This is the second such installation in Europe, and according to the Associated Press, it will be integrated into NATO's missiles defense system. Polish officials emphasized that its opening reinforced the enduring strength of the Poland-US military alliance, regardless of changes in US leadership.
At that time, President Lech Kaczynski said to me, Andrzej, these missiles will not defend Poland because they will be missiles designed to intercept ballistic missiles. In reality, they will primarily protect territories far, far from Poland against missiles that could potentially be launched, for example, from Iran.
Reuters reports that Poland's missile defense system is currently configured to counter threats from the Middle East. For it to address potential threats from Russia, the radar system would need to be reoriented, a complex procedure requiring a shift in NATO policy. Despite these challenges, Moscow has already issued threats against Poland, warning of potential targeting. Russia frequently employs such rhetoric, including nuclear threats, as part of its foreign policy, particularly after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
The current threats and what is happening beyond our eastern border prompt us to further expand the operation of the missile defense base in Redzikovo. We are conducting such talks within NATO. The base was introduced as the American contribution to NATO's allied defense. This is not a deployed unit that can be withdrawn in a matter of minutes. Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Defense of Poland, in comments to Polish media.
Poland's defense minister noted that approximately 10,000 US troops are currently stationed in the country. Their responsibilities include securing the Rzeszów airport, a critical hub for channeling military support to Ukraine. Reported by Baston Katerina KD, UATV News.